everybody, I'm Pokerface Ash and welcome to my channel. Today I'm about to make the 4-hour drive over to Houston, Texas, where I'm going to be playing on the Champions live stream. And if you guys are new to the channel, I just put out a vlog not too long ago about the craziest cash game I've ever played in my life, the highest stakes, the craziest, biggest pots I've ever won and lost, and Phil Helmuth called the very last hand of the stream the craziest bad beat he's ever seen in live stream history. So if you get a chance, check out that vlog as well. But today I'm going to be playing on something a lot tamer, a 1-3 all ladies cash game. So I just woke up, I'm gonna head to get ready, make the 4-hour drive, and I'll see you guys in Houston. It's ladies' night here in Houston, Texas at Champions Club. I absolutely love this poker room. It is class act, state of the art, and they have amazing food, private chef, amazing chips, felt tables, you know the deal. It's incredible here, and the live stream is so fun to play on. And tonight we're gonna be playing some 1-3 no limit hold'em. I heard it was $1,000 max. I bought in for $1,000. However, a lot of the ladies bought in for $5, but they told me they would be happy if I kept my chips on the table. Not sure what that says about my play. Donkey. However, we're gonna get started here. And these days, I really don't see myself as a cash player. I primarily play live streams if I do play cash, but you'll mostly find me playing tournament stops around the country. Also, I love playing 1-3. I think it's what I'm most comfortable with player pool and just my bankroll in general. I've got to be honest, guys, there's not a ton of huge pots tonight, but we can go over some fun spots. So let's get into it. In one of the very first hands I play, Mary limps under the gun with ace-7 offsuit, then it folds around to Doc in the hijack, and she raises it up to 23. I'm next to act and look down at 10-8 hearts. I didn't drive 3 hours to Houston to fold this suited one gapper. I put in the call. Mary folds, and we're gonna go heads up to a flop of King 6-4 rainbow. Doc doesn't want to slow down on this king high board as it's very good for her range, and so she puts out a bet of $35. I think there's some combinations of hands we can turn into bluffs or use as floats here, but with 10-8 of hearts here, we're just gonna let it go. And Doc had King Queen offsuit, so she flopped a very, very strong hand. Glad I didn't try to get crafty. In this hand, Glow raises under the gun 1 with 6-4 of diamonds to 12. Folds around to me, and I look down at ace queen offsuit in the hijack. I raised to 40. However, I think I would have liked to go around $50 or so, but I'm not sure how this table's playing. Maybe they'll be a little bit loose, splashy, and calling a lot pre-flop. Well, my idea of raising bigger was right, as I pick up 3 callers, so we're gonna go 4 ways to a flop of King 8-4 rainbow. It checks over to me, and even though this is a king high, somewhat disconnected board, I'm facing 3 other ranges, which a lot of them can contain hands that have me beat, and I think we could just take a free turn card here. Again, being 4 ways, it's just really ambitious to try and win the hand. However, there can be some good barreling cards for us, so it does check through, and the turn is the ace of clubs. It's a great card as my opponents can have a lot of worse aces here. For example, hands like ace-7 suited, ace-5 suited, etc. So it checks around to me, and I bet 65. Sadly, none of my opponents had anything to combat me with, so we don't get any extra value, but we do win the pot. In this hand, the $10 straddle is on, and it folds around to me in the low jack, and I look down at Queen 10 offsuit. I'm definitely going to raise up this offsuit Broadway hand and attack this straddle. I make it $30. Then the rook in the low jack, who seems to be a very solid player, knows what she's doing. She puts in the call. We're going to go heads up to a flop of ace-10-4 with 2 clubs, and on this type of board texture, we can mix between betting or checking. Again, I've talked about this a lot, where it really depends on how my opponent perceives me, and I think the rook knows that I can be checking a lot of strong hands here. Just because we flop a strong hand or have an ace high board texture does not mean we need to put money in the pot out of position. And our hand specifically is kind of right in the middle of our range, having middle pair with the queen kicker. So I'm gonna check with the intention of calling, and sure enough, the rook does bet $30. We're gonna proceed with the plan and make the call and see what the turn brings. The turn is a 7 of spades. It's pretty much a brick. However, it does bring in some of my backdoor floats like 5-6 of spades, 9-8 of spades, and a lot of hands like that. So I check it over again, hoping to just get to a showdown here, being out of position in this hand, having middle pair. But the rook doesn't want to check it through. She puts out a very nice size bet of 100. So now our hand here in theory can definitely continue calling. We do have a decent hand still, but we have to look at the player pool, who we're playing against, and our opponents just really don't continue barreling here a lot unless they have an ace a ton of the time. This is just based on a lot of experience and playing in these types of situations over and over at lower stakes. So it really comes down to, do I think she's bluffing? I do block some of her semi-bluffs because I have the 10 of spades in my hand, and I do block some of her intuitive bluffs, hands like queen jack or king queen for example. So this was a bit of a dicey spot. I wasn't quite sure what to do, but just based on what I'd gathered so far in this session, I don't want to make an ambitious call and then face a tough spot on the river. So I do decide to lay it down, although it wasn't easy knowing that the rook is completely capable of bluffing. However, I was happy to see later on that she had ace jack offsuit. So she did have a really good hand and we avoid losing more chips. In this hand, we get ourselves in a little bit of a dicey spot where Heifercat limps under the gun, then it folds around to Michelle on the button and she raises to 12. Folds around to me and I look down at King 6 suited in the big blind, and again, I'm used to playing tournaments these days and I know the solver loves to take this hand as a 3-bet. I'm trying to get mixy in this game. I didn't come all the way here to fold, wanted to do some fun and creative things and keep the game lively. I put in a 3-bet to 45. However, again, being a little bit rusty, I needed to make this like $60. I think that would have been a way better sizing. Heifercat folds. Now it's back on Michelle on the button and she makes the call. So we are going to go heads up to a flop of queen 8-8 with 2 spades. So when we get this board texture and we have our exact hand and we're taking it as a 3-bet bluff, we really shouldn't be checking in this spot. And as far as bet sizings go, I think we can go with pretty much any sizing. We can't really go too wrong. So I land on a size of $45. And I should note that on this particular board texture, our opponent is going to flop a lot of nothing and we're going to get folds by the turn or the river. So I was fully planning on blasting off and emptying the clip in this hand. However, Michelle wants to play for more and she min raises to 90. Well, of course, now given this hand in our line, our hand is just a fold and we're able to escape very cheaply as she had pocket kings, so she trapped us pre-flop by just calling on the button. It was a very nice move in that specific situation. So luckily for us, we get shown aggression early enough in the hand where I don't light too much money on fire. In this hand, glows under the gun 2 and raises to $12. It folds around to me and I'm in the cutoff and look down at King Jack offsuit. In theory, this hand is just a fold a majority of the time. However, I like to take it as a 3-bet as we block some strong hands. It's also a hand that I don't really want to flat here, so if I am going to play it, I prefer to use it as a 3-bet bluff in this spot. So I make it 40. Glow calls, so we're going to go heads up to a flop of 7-4-4 rainbow. Glow checks it over to me, and this is a very static board texture, so in cash games you can typically go a little bit bigger. However, with my tournament background, I tend to down bet a little bit too often in cash games, so I did put out a bet of $30. She makes the call, so we head to a turn card, which is an offsuit 3, so now the board is completely rainbow, and she checks it over to us yet again. I think it's likely that Glow has a lot of overcards that might fold to a second barrel, so I'm not going to slow down, and I bet $80. She thinks for a while. Now at this point in the hand, I know she's uncomfortable, and she really doesn't believe me, but she doesn't want to call. I made it up in my mind that if she calls again, we're just gonna fire a huge overbet on the river and try to get her to fold a hand like pocket 8s or 9s. So she does think for a little bit, and she's correct. Her spidey senses are going off, but she does reluctantly put in the fold, and she had pocket deuces. So she was correct in thinking that I had a lot of bluffs in this spot. However, her hand was just so vulnerable and really tough to continue calling out of position with this hand. So she does make the fold. We get our bluff through with the king high. The $10 straddles on in this hand, and Michelle limps under the gun 1. I'm in the low jack and look down at king 7 of diamonds. A suited king here, being able to isolate a limp and the straddle money, I put in a raise of $40. Then it folds around to Heifercat on the button, and she's been playing pretty snug and straightforward. She puts in a 3-bet to 75, and now folds back around to me. I don't really want to call at this point. However, she's giving me such a tempting price, and plus, some of the time on certain board textures, we can get some of her hands like ace king or ace queen, for example, to fold, so I do decide to peel. However, I don't love it and I'm already getting myself in a dicey spot.
I can't help but feel partially responsible.
So we go heads up to a flop of ace 9 10 with 2 hearts, and so we flop, well, absolutely nothing. I check it over to her, she puts out a bet. I of course have nothing to do here other than kiss my money goodbye and put in the fold, and she flips over pocket aces, so she flopped top set. So far when I've had the suited kings, I've picked terrible times to put in bluffs, but we're gonna move on. In this hand, Heifercat limps under the gun with queen 5 suited. Then Mary next to act raises it up to 17 with king jack offsuit. Michelle makes the call in the hijack with ace 10. Doc makes the fold, and now it's on me on the button. I think with Mary raising, she's very active, loves to play a ton of hands, so she doesn't just have nutted super strong hands in this spot, she can have a lot of playable hands kind of like the one she has as well. Michelle calling there, she shouldn't have a very strong hand as most of her strongest hands want to 3-bet here. So even though we're on the button, ace jack offsuit just seems like a really bad flat facing multiple opponents, so if I'm gonna play this one, I think I need to treat it as a 3-bet bluff. So purely exploitatively, we're gonna go obnoxiously big here and make it $130, forcing them to fold a lot of their hands that have equity against us, or just play a big pot against us out of position with marginal holdings. It folds back around to Mary, she thinks for a little bit and then lets it go. Michelle lets it go as well, and we get it through and pick up a nice one with some dead money in there. In this hand, Mary limps under the gun for $3, Doc limps as well, and then I'm in the cutoff and look down at pocket aces.
Jackpot.
I'm gonna raise it up to 20. Folds back around to Mary, and she didn't limp to fold pre-flop. She makes the call. Doc folds. We're gonna go heads up to a flop of Queen 9-6 rainbow. And Mary doesn't check it over to me, which I think her range on this specific board wants to check pretty much all the time. So when I face a quote-unquote donk lead like this, it's usually screaming top pair weak kicker, perhaps top pair that just doesn't want to get drawn out on, wants to get value, and or quote-unquote end the hand right now. It can also be some sort of 9x or 6x hand, just based on my experience in these player pools. So as you can see, our hand does want to raise here a lot of the time. We have the best pair in poker, so we do want to raise it up, get value from worse of course, and charge some of her draws if she's doing this with a hand like Jack 10 for example. I raise it up to 50, and Mary doesn't think very long before putting in the call. So at this point, I think her range is capped at some sort of pair like pocket eights, maybe a 9x, and a queen. So let's head to a turn card, which is an offsuit jack, so now the board is completely rainbow. And now Mary checks it over to me. As you can see, pocket aces wants to be checking here a ton of the time, as the jack is actually not a great card at all. It can complete some of her two pairs sometimes, her gut shots, or she picks up a ton of equity with this card. We're going to put in a check and try to go for value on most river cards. So I check, and the river card is another queen. Super interesting card here, and now Mary checks. Well, there was a ton of river cards I was going to go for value on. However, the queen specifically, I don't love. I can go for some thin value against a 9, or if she somehow turned a jack. But like I said on the flop, when she leads, she's most likely going to have a queen or a 9 in that spot. So after thinking it over, I thought it was best to not put myself in a gross spot if we face a check raise. So I decided to check it back and take my showdown value, and Mary shows us 9-10 offsuit. So perhaps we could have gone for some thin value there, but I decide to check and we take down the pot. So now it's time for a PLO double board bomb pot, and oh boy did I get myself in a stupid spot. We flop a set of 10s on the bottom board, and instead of checking like I should have done, I put out a bet of 40, and then the rook raises to 165. I make the call. The turn goes check, and the river went check as well, and the rook ended up making a gutter on the river to a straight, so my set of 10s goes down in flames, and she had trips on the top board, so pretty brutal spot. Hate the way I played it. I probably could have made the pot a lot more manageable and not inflated it on the flop. We lose almost $200 in this bomb pot, which sucks.
Well, that was another in a long series of regrettable life choices.
In this hand, the $10 straddle is on, and I look down at King 4 of hearts in the low jack. I'm gonna raise this up and try to take down this dead straddle money. I raise to 30. Sunny calls in the big blind, so we're gonna go heads up to a flop of ace 8-7 with 1 heart. She checks it over to us, and I'm gonna continue for 30. She makes the call, so we head to a turn, which is the 10 of hearts, and I'm really hoping she'll check it over to us so we can see a free river card, because I'm pretty much done with this hand unless we improve. But she does not check. She leads for $85. Now I'm kind of annoyed as we're playing this inflated straddle pot, but we're gonna make the call and try to get lucky, so we head to a river card, which is a brick. And now she bets again. We fold, and she had ace jack offsuit. So now it's time for another double board PLO bomb pot, and this is a crazy one. I believe is the biggest hand I played for the night, so you know what time it is. It's time to buckle up. Not gonna get into theory because, well, I really don't know what I'm doing in these hands. I just try to survive. So we all head to a flop, and there's a $10 bet. I make the call. We head to a turn card, and now I have the nut flush draw on both boards with ace king of hearts. And now there's a bet of 95, and it picks up 3 callers. So we head to a river card in this massive pot. The river on the first board is a brick for me, but on the bottom board, we make the nuts. Mary leads for $50. Glow makes the call, having top 2 on the first board and the nut straight on the second board. And now I think this is an amazing spot to rip all in and hopefully get a chop to fold. I don't have much on the top board. I know I'm very likely always behind, but on the bottom board, we have it locked up. So I rip pretty much all in. Now it folds back over to Glow, and she is agonizing. It's a pretty gross spot for her considering she had the nuts on the bottom board until the river. But she thinks and thinks and thinks. She hates it so much, and she lets it go, so we get it through. And we win an almost $500 pot, which we really needed because we were stuck. Alright, in this hand, we're in the hijack and look down at Queen Jack offsuit. I raise it up to 15. Folds around to Mary in the big blind. She was a blast to play with, by the way. Such a fun personality, loves to play hands, and she's known to be a super tournament crusher. She 3-bet to 45. I didn't come all the way here to fold Queen Jack in position. I make the call. We're gonna go heads up to a flop of Queen 9-6 with all spades. So with my hand, I have top pair and I have the Jack of spades. She checks it over to me, and we can either bet small here or check. I think either one's fine, and I decide to check. The turn is a very interesting card. It's another spade, but it's the 10 of spades, so we have an open-ended straight flush draw. Mary checks again. Obviously, we're gonna go for a little value now as she's checked twice on this monotone texture, so I bet 25, and she snap raises to 75. Well, I do not love this at all because she did 3-bet pre-flop, so it's very likely she can hold the ace of spades or the king of spades, obviously. However, we are drawing to the straight flush, and if she's somehow bluffing some of the time, we can pick that off, so I make the call and we head to a river card, which is another spade. It's the 3 of spades. And now she bets 100. And as you can see, I'm absolutely hating it because this sizing is hardly ever a bluff. This looks so much like an ace of spades or a king of spades, and you can kind of hear me talking about it out loud.
Yes, you had ace king with the spade.
What a read.
Oh man.
So as you heard, I said you must have ace king with a spade, and it's just so unlikely she's bluffing given the action and her bet size on the river. And the problem is she can't even have a hand like pocket 10s with the spade. She'd maybe have to have a hand like pocket 8s with the spade, perhaps maybe a 2 pair turned into a bluff, but none of those combinations are hands I don't think she would raise pre-flop. So anyway, we get away from this one as she had ace king with the king of spades, and I'm very, very happy with my fold. A lot of people will just sigh and flick it in there. However, we were disciplined and made the right choice. All right, so we were in for, I'm not sure. I think we lost a couple $100 on the night. And honestly, it was just a fun time, like playing with the ladies, some characters. Some of them were just cracking me up the whole night, having a blast. Obviously picked some terrible times to bluff into like aces and kings, of course. And they got myself into some dumb spots, but honestly, I was there to just fling chips, have fun, have a great time. Would have loved to book a profit, obviously, but we were pretty freaking card dead most of the night. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the vlog. If you did, would you do me a huge favor and go all in and like, comment, subscribe? It would mean the world to me. We're just getting started on this crazy journey. It's only up from here. I'll see y'all next time.